So let's look at animation in CSS. And animation generally makes it possible to kind of animate transitions from one CSS style configuration to another. And another important thing about this stuff or CSS in animation is basically that they're easy to use for simple animation. You can create them without ever wanting to know more about JavaScript, but there's more interactivity capability to do or be able to achieve in JavaScript when you start learning JavaScript, but later on, yeah. But animations run well even under multiple system load, and simple information can animation can be often kind of perform very poorly in JavaScript. But to learn more about that later, let's just focus on animation with CSS and how you can actually achieve that. So we have the animation shorthand property that applies animation between stalls, and the animation property is specified as one or more single animations separated by commas. So on the left side of your screen, you could see that we have an animation property, and its value is 3 seconds. We have 3s, is in, 1s, we have 2, reverse, both, pause, sliding. So if you could check at comments up there, so that's how we actually write comments in CSS. Did we talk about that? Really? Let me just go to, oh, I did mention it, but this is how we actually write comments in CSS, yeah? So content that will not be used as styling rules, yeah. I'm sorry about that, but that's it. Anyway, so the first one is called a keyframe duration, so 3 seconds, okay? And then the function or the isIn function here, we call it is the isIn, and then we have 1s, which is the delay. Then we have iteration count. How many counts of iteration do you want this animation or isIn kind of type of animation to occur? That is 2. And then which direction do you want this animation to be going? So that is reverse. And then the fill mode, is it end to end? If that's so, we use both. And then post, post, that is the play state. Initially, what happens? Does it start immediately or not, and stuff. So basically that's it. And then you have, this is how you'll define the animation basically in a way. And then you could also kind of have different types of animation. In this size, the second one, you can see we have a sliding. Sliding is basically a type of keyframe, which makes me want to go to the next slide. So it's just an add rules are CSS statements that instruct CSS how to behave. They begin with, so how do you want CSS to behave in a way, okay? And transform the same to an HTML content being displayed. So basically animation. So that's why we had as at keyframe slide in. So that means our transformation or application of the styles, it's from left to right, and it's from 0% along the x-axis towards, so increasing or movement, whatever, if it's a movement or applying color, just from 0% on the x-axis towards 100%. And the way, so that is slide in as the keyframe or the behavior we want to apply. So you can see down there sliding, and the duration we want it to take, it's 3 seconds, and then linear, so that means in a straight line, and it should be able to kind of have a delay of 1 second before it starts, okay? So basically that's how that one is being read or understood in a way. Yeah, okay, so definitely we will try this out and see how that will play around. But we can see on the screen that we can't really animate anything if we don't have the at keyframe specified. So because that is what kind of invokes the behavior of the CSS that is being applied to a particular HTML element grabbed within the CSS files. Okay, so we have an example here. We have a paragraph, and the animation name is sliding, which is a keyframe. So the behavior we want of this paragraph is that the margin starts at 100% left. So the space on the left, or the margin on the left, is 100%. The width of the same is 300%, and we want it to animate from that to a margin of left 0 and a width of 100%. So we'll just try it out and see what really happens. So what we can do is come and grab, we can use now an ID selector because we want to test it with a particular paragraph. So we could use the article and use this first So you can just add an ID and we call it, or even just a class name to those, because class names are more flexible. So we can just say animation, okay, or animate, class name animate. Then we go to our CSS and we start styling our animate. Okay, so what we want to do is just want to use the same styles. Animation duration, we set it, and an animation name that will be able to call our animation name. We will call it, let's say, slide in, the way it is. We've not defined it yet. As a keyframe, we have to define it. And then we have animation duration. We want it to be like a 3 seconds, as if, is it 3 seconds? Yeah. So now we need to define our keyframe. So type of a keyframe. So a keyframe. So we start with art. Okay. So we said art are rules. Let's go. Art rules are CSS statement that instruct CSS how to behave. They begin with an art sign. An example is a keyframe, and that's it. So what we want to achieve here, we want the name is the keyframes, and the name is slide. Once we write it, we'll see it highlighted somewhere there. So you can see we have a slide in. Okay. This is our animation name. And then we want it, the animation to happen from left to right or something. So where are we beginning our animation from? We want margin left is 100%. The width is 300%. And we want that animation to end with margin left at 0% and width at 100%. Okay, so you can select everything, and there's kind of just format to make configure prettier is the default one. Okay, let's see if that happens. If you load our page, you can see. So that's the animation. So the width is 300%, so it overlaps up till the end. So imaginary extension, and then slowly with the duration of 3 seconds, within 3 seconds, it defaults back to 100%. So that means fits within the current viewport or the view of the page we have, or the size of the page we have, and then stops and displays the way it's supposed to display. So that's a simple way to add animation to CSS, or animation to a web page or HTML content or HTML element in CSS or with CSS. Yep, that's it. And there's a lot of it, so you can always, it's not a big issue in front-end engineering a lot of the time, but it's a good to know. So you could take some time to better understand how animations in CSS actually work. And the different more properties that you can make animation continuously, kind of how many times you want it to happen. So you use the animation iteration count, infinite, you provide it. And with that, you can add another keyframe also, just nest them, and that's it. And at 75%, for example, you want the width to increase from whatever, the margin left to be whatever, and the width to be 150, or the font size to be 10%, margin left to be 25, the width to be 150. So you could play around with animation, just achieve whatever you want to achieve with CSS animation. So this is what we achieved. So making text slide across the browser window. Yeah, I don't know why I'm reversing and going back, but that's it, I think. And that marks the end of our introduction to CSS and the basics importance of CSS. Just to summarize about CSS, so we learned that CSS, we use CSS to kind of dictate or define how HTML content will appear, or the appearance basically. And one of the core things we've learned in CSS is layout, and we have two types of them that you need to pay a lot of attention to, and that's it. That's flexbox, flex layout, and or flexbox, and the grid layout, and other important kind of setups. That is how to actually use them in HTML. So having external styles makes it easier for you. And another thing is you could actually use CSS variables to kind of just improve or make your code more neater, increase reusability of your CSS properties or styles within your project. And that's it about CSS and its introduction. I hope to see you soon again as we learn more in the front-end engineering course. That's it. I hope you'll continue learning by yourself and rolling back, pausing whatever you need, and just making sure that you understand everything from the beginning till where we've reached. Yes. Thank you. Cheers. Bye-bye.